Hi guys, and tonight we're here joined by our regulars. Dan, how you doing, mate?
Hiya, how are you going? Thanks for having us back.
It's all right. And we've got much Arsenal's very own Colin. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, it's alright, you know. Just sick of this bullshit now, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah. We're going to get right into that. Don't you worry about that, lads. Today we're going to talk about Arsenal and what the fuck has gone wrong with this club and where we go from here. Dan, if you don't mind, I'm going to start with Colin because obviously he's an Arsenal fan. Um, Colin, got Barcelona tomorrow, more or less. Fucking no, let's get it right. We are out of the Champions League. We're out of the FA Cup. We're out of the Barclays Premier League. Where the fuck do Arsenal go from here? And what you know, if you can answer that question for me, then enlighten us.
I think you have to look back further than this season. For me, you have to look back all the way back to 2012. We sold Robin van Persie to Manchester United.
Yeah.
We still haven't replaced him, and it's been nearly 4 years since then. What else? The transfer policy is all wrong. We didn't sign an outfield player. In fact, I think we were the only club in the top 5 European leagues that didn't sign an outfield player. So that says a lot about what ambition the club has. Stan Kroenke comes out the other day and says, if I wanted to win championships, I would not have bought shares in Arsenal. So that says a lot about what kind of mug he is. What else? Like you said, we're out of the FA Cup, which in my opinion was our realistic chance of winning any silverware at all this season. And if anyone thinks we're still going to win the league, they're absolute mugs. We're not winning the league, not a chance. We're 11 points behind Leicester as it is. And we're playing Everton on Saturday at Goodison. The form they're in, that ain't going to be an easy game. They've absolutely just routed Chelsea last weekend, so that ain't going to be an easy game whatsoever. And you know what? I don't want Leicester to win the league, okay? I'll just say that right now. I don't want Leicester winning the league. Reason being, it makes the club look like an absolute joke. It's already a joke as is, but it will make it even worse. It makes Arsene Wenger look like a mug, and to be fair, not even the most anti-Wenger person on the planet wanted that. Not a hope. But it's not just Arsene Wenger, it's the whole club. It's Stan Kroenke, Ivan Gazidis, Chips Keswick. And this is the problem. It doesn't just stem from the pitch. Let's just get that straight right now. The problem is worse on what you're seeing on the pitch. We've got so many average players at that club. How Theo Walcott is on 140 grand a week, I have no idea. He doesn't deserve it. Simple as that. And then you've got players like Alexis Sanchez coming out and saying that this club doesn't have the mentality to win titles. If one of your best players is saying that, there's something wrong. Clearly, I would not blame Ozil, Sanchez, or Cech if they left. I really wouldn't. Because as far as I'm concerned, they're the 3 world-class players in this team. We have not improved since 2012. We had 3 world-class players back then in Van Persie. Who are the other ones? Actually, no, we only had 1 world-class player in Robin Van Persie. The rest were bang fucking average. So really, we haven't improved that much since 2012. We've not replaced Van Persie, like I said. People can throw all the stats they want at me about Olivier Giroud, but look how many... The thing with Giroud, you can sum it up perfectly. He misses about 5 or 6 chances to every 1 goal he scores. That is how you sum up Olivier Giroud. You cannot win league titles with that kind of striker. You cannot win Champions Leagues with that kind of striker. For me, we need a complete redo. And if I'm honest, I'm not sure even 100 mil will do it. We need more than that, in my opinion. But you know what? I'll let Daniel talk, right? Because I've gone on long enough as is.
But yeah, Dan, I'll come to you with a question. Like, I mean, we know that Wenger's been a stubborn prick throughout the years. You know, and he's always like tried to get away from the idea that it was. You know, he's always protected his players, or he's always protected something. He's always has a defence, but I think he's actually starting to crack now. He's coming out with stupid fucking comments, and you just think like, you know, you get the feeling that he really has started to lose it, and he's become more stubborn over the years.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, he's my opinion. I think he's lost a bit of the dressing room now. I think, like you said, like your man said, Colin, not signing an outfield player, and you're right. The only club in the top 5 leagues not to sign an outfield player in the summer. Now, what's going on there? You know, yes, if you'd have won the league, then yeah, obviously you would have answered the critics. But like you said, 11 points behind Leicester at the state of play at the moment, it's just not good enough. And it is an embarrassment if to Leicester are to win the league. Somebody else wins it, like Man United, Chelsea, Man City, then yeah, fair enough. But somebody like Leicester, who are bottom of the league this time last year, to come and win the league now, it's just a joke on Arsenal's part, isn't it? This is the best chance Arsenal have ever had for a long, long time to win the league. They beat Man City back in December or whenever it was, and since then it's just all gone pear-shaped. I think the summer is going to be the time to change the manager. All the top clubs are going to change their manager in the summer, or already have, or already plan to. I think it's time that Arsenal need to change their manager as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, we finished, correct me if I'm wrong, was it 12 or 15 points behind Chelsea last season, something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. And then he just goes and says, oh, all we need is Petr Cech as a goalkeeper. So that's kind of indicating that you're happy with Walcott, you're happy with Giroud. These fucking players, by the way, that has failed you for, like, you know, like Colin said, you know, year in, year out. As I said, Giroud ain't going to set the world alight, nor is Walcott. I don't think they're, well, no, I know they're not clinical finishers. And you get people on Twitter, it's ridiculous, you know, the amount of people that defend Giroud and defend Arsene Wenger, you know, week in, week out, it's ridiculous. I mean, I was reading it on bloody Sunday, we just lost 2-1 to Watford. No disrespect to Watford whatsoever, but we are Arsenal Football Club, yeah? And we have just lost 2-1 to Watford. Oh, Arsene Wenger, oh, fuck off. Seriously, right? And they'll go, and they say things like, oh, it's not Arsene Wenger's fault if the players are, no. Yes, it is fucking Arsene Wenger's fault because he is the manager, right? And if the players are not performing for him, have some fucking balls and fucking lay into them, right? And if they're not performing for you, fuck up out of this fucking football club. Do you think for 1 minute Alex Ferguson would have stood for a shit performance like that? I've said for years now, every single time Manchester United had a bad performance, they'd go on this crazy 13-14 unbeaten run, and they'd always come out and say, "Oh, I don't want that team talk ever again." Our players ain't doing that about Wenger. They don't give a shit about Wenger, and they ain't scared about him at all or intimidated about him at all because he just comes out with the same shit. And like you said, he's lost the dressing room. And what did Chelsea do at the beginning of the season when Jose Mourinho lost the dressing room? Changed the manager, and now look at them, completely changed form.
It's pathetic. You know what the biggest thing is, right? This is what summed it up for me. We couldn't get going for 85 minutes. And that was only because we brought Danny Welbeck on. And he's not even a product of Arsenal. That is shocking. Absolutely shocking. I mean, we've got good youth players coming through like Alex Iwobi and Rennie Adelaide, but other than that, the rest of it is utter shite. I mean, Glenn Kamara is not going to make the first team. Because honestly, I watched the Sheffield Wednesday game, right, and he was utter shite. Not closing them down. And I'm sorry, but if anyone thinks that Puigswell or whatever his name is going to be a future right back and get ahead of Bellerin, they're having a laugh. He won't even get ahead of Jenkinson. That's how bad the youth academy is. I mean, if they can't measure up to Sheffield Wednesday, no offence to Sheffield Wednesday, but if they can't measure up to them, how are they going to do it in the Premier League? Explain that. And for Wenger to come out and say that the possession in the final third was good, no, bollocks. It was sideways passing all game. Ramsey has been diabolical. I've been saying that for months.
Sack of shit.
Because what he does is he tries all this fancy flicks shit. But anyone who plays football, even at amateur level, will know you do the basics first, then the fancy shit. You don't do the fancy shit and then the basics. It doesn't work like that. Theo Walcott, as I've said, he doesn't deserve 140k a week. All he can do is run. I know plenty of people that can run, but they don't get Arsenal contracts. Oxlade-Chamberlain doesn't do his defensive duties. I mean, I'm a big fan of Oxlade-Chamberlain, but if he's not learning, then what's the point in keeping him? The only players that I can say deserve to wear a shirt in that team are Coquelin, because he puts a shift in every time. Danny Welbeck, because you can see he works hard. He might not be world class, but he works hard every game. Mesut Ozil, he's trying, but he's looking around him and saying, what the fuck am I looking at here?
Yeah.
And the same with Sanchez. It's like, oh my God. And Petr Cech as well. But I suppose you could throw Bellerin and Koscielny in there. But really, it's like, you know what, mate? Like I said, this goes further than the pitch. It goes way further than the pitch. Because what people fail to realise is Wenger is just a mouthpiece. That's what he is. Because Stan Kroenke, Keswick and Gazidis are pulling the strings. And Gazidis has come out right and said that the money's there. So it's either, okay, the money's there, but are they not willing to back him, or is Arsene Wenger not willing to spend the money? For me, I think it's a bit of both. Because, again, we see all these, bad owners at football clubs. For me, West Ham are run perfectly because their owners really do care about the football club. Our owners don't. That's the difference.
Yeah, I think it's definitely some of it's a bit of both, because I think Arsene Wenger's stuck in that stupid way of, oh well, I bought Patrice Vieira for tuppence, I bought Thierry Henry for tuppence, and he still thinks in this generation he can still do that. I mean, he is 20 years behind the times. I'm sorry. Anybody that wants to tell me different, you are deluded, and I just can't be asked to fucking listen to it. He has not progressed at all. He has not learned from his mistakes at all.
No, he hasn't. Because if you look at the league table, right, over between 2013 and now, we've actually got less points than we did last season at this point. And last season, we had less points than we did at this point the season previous to that. So really, we've not improved at all. We're going backwards. We're out of the Champions League, and we have been going out of the Champions League in the last 16 for 6 fucking years. Am I the only one that thinks that Arsenal should be competing in Europe and getting to semi-finals? Am I the only one that thinks we should be doing that? I mean, we were sold a dream.
Yeah, not when you promised by your board that you were going to be competing with the best.
No, but we were sold a dream that we were going to compete with Real Madrid, Barcelona and Bayern Munich. Financially, we can. Right? I don't think anyone would disagree with that. But on the pitch, we are a million miles away from either of those clubs. I don't know what Daniel thinks about that, but that's just my view on it.
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, financially, I think you probably can compete with them, and probably you know, probably more so probably than some of those clubs. But like you said, on the pitch, we're absolute million miles away. Like you said, there's some good players that you've got there. You have got 3 or 4 like quality world class players, but it's just not enough. Like you look at Real Madrid, you look at Barcelona, they've got 7, 8 world class players, haven't they? That's the difference, and that's the thing. Arsenal needs to just splash the cash. Okay, you know, Sanchez got injured for a large part of the season, but that's where you need that backup in, and Giroud just isn't good enough just for that backup, is he? You need a world class to replace world class, and that's what you haven't got at the moment. You've got no strength in depth, and you know, you lose that one player, and that's what can happen, can't it? And he should have signed somebody in the summer, and it's come back to bite him now, hasn't it? Because he didn't sign anybody in the summer. Your main man gets injured, he comes back from form, he's not on form, he's still probably injured, he was probably brought back a bit too early, he's not match fit, and he's just not scoring the goals, and you know, that's what can happen. And like you said, Giroud probably misses more than he scores. He probably needs 5, 6 chances just to score 1 goal, doesn't he? And you know, yeah.
But my question is, like, why do we have to settle for second best or third best all the time? Like, there was plenty of strikers out there. Don't believe that deluded prick that comes out and goes, there was no one available. Right, fuck off. Right, there was loads of players available, but no disrespect to Welbeck whatsoever. But I'll tell you what, we'll go for the 16 million Welbeck option. Or I'll tell you what, we'll go for bringing Coquelin back from Charlton option. He never goes for the expensive option and the option that will actually benefit us in the long term run of winning trophies. I don't understand why we have to go for second best all the time. I don't understand it when we've got 200 million in the bank. So where's the problem?
Yeah, and you know what, mate, right? You bring up Welbeck and Coquelin, right? Welbeck was a panic buy.
Of course he was.
You know, people might disagree with that, but that is a fact. He only bought Welbeck in because Man United brought in Falcao. That is the only reason. Coquelin was only brought in due to Arteta and Flamini being injured. So Wenger in no way deserves credit for that. There's Bellerin, exactly the same. Because the only reason we brought him into the team was because Debussy was injured.
Yeah.
So that's it. And anyone with a brain can tell you that Arteta's legs have gone. I mean, come on. Even before his legs were gone, he was at number 10 when we bought him. And yet he thinks, oh, you know what, I'll just play him in defensive midfield because, you know, number 10, it's still a midfield player, can do the same job. And while he did an alright job to start with, I think time has shown that you can't really have a number 10 play defensive midfield. That's like playing Ozil in that position. Just wouldn't work, would it? Honestly, if Ozil played in a defensive midfield role, he'd be underutilized more than he is on the left wing. And we can't play Ozil on the left wing because to do that, you need quality in every position on the pitch. We don't have that. Germany can do that because they've got world-class players in every position. So they can afford to do that. We can't. Who have we got at left back to cover? Monreal, decent, but not world-class. Honestly, I love Monreal, but I wouldn't say he's world-class. He puts a shift in, but he's not world-class. Gibbs is not world-class. Anyone that says that he is deluded. So really, it's like, and Coquelin, he might be class-like, but again, he might put a shift in, but he ain't world-class.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, there's only 3 players in that squad that are world-class, and that's Cech, Ozil, and Sanchez. Anyone that disagrees with that is deluded, because it's clear as day to see. Sanchez has not been the same since the Norwich game when he got injured. Even though it was horrendous from that Norwich defender, shouldn't get to that position in the first place.
Again, why did Sanchez get injured though? Because he kept overplaying him.
Oh, yep, hamstring. We all knew he had a injured hamstring, but Wenger risked him again, like he always does, because he doesn't trust the team that he has. In fact, sometimes he's too loyal. That's my issue with him. I mean, why would you not give Joe Campbell a run instead of playing Sanchez on the left? I mean, all right, fair enough. Play Ramsey on the right. I'm not objecting to that now because I can see why Wenger does it.
Yeah.
Because he's a good player, Oxlade-Chamberlain, but he lacks defensive duties. Ramsey might be selfish, but he gets back and helps Bellerin. And Campbell is good at defending as well, and he can get forward and attack. And Campbell's been immense this season. Absolutely immense. As far as I'm concerned, he's better than Theo.
He drops him, and I don't understand why.
Yeah, it's honestly, some of his tactical decisions are so dumb, it's ridiculous. I mean, in fact, we'll go back to last season. He brings in Arshavin, right, who was an attacking midfielder, right, or, you know, a sort of attacking midfielder / striker, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
But he moves him to the left. Podolski, a striker. Anyone would tell you that. But he plays him as a left midfielder. Cazorla, a central player, plays him as a left midfielder. Ozil, a number 10, plays him as a left winger. Ramsey, a central player, plays him as a right winger. He's constantly playing players out of position, and it does my head in.
Sometimes plays Welbeck on the right as well.
Oh my God. He plays him on the left as well, mate. He rotates from both wings, and he even puts Walcott up front when he's not a striker. Can anyone explain that? I mean, oh God. Guy does my head in.
Well, the question I wanted to ask, I'll ask this question to Dan. Why can't we go 2 up front? What is this fucking 4-2-3-1 all the fucking time? You telling me that you can't be more threatening with 2 strikers up front?
I think you can go 2. I don't see what the problem going 2 up front is. There's no problem. I know a lot of teams don't do it, but especially at home, there's no problem going 2 up front. I don't feel that there's a problem in doing that. Like you said, you can do that. They should be doing that. Other clubs have done it. They've gone 2 up top, haven't they? Even if you have one that just drops a little bit deep and drops into the number 10 and then just pushes forward when you start to attack. There's no real reason you can't do that. The problem is you need a quality defensive midfielder, though, don't you, just to sort of mop it all up at the back. That's the problem. And Colin was saying about Arteta. You're completely right. He's not a number 10. He's not a defensive midfielder at all. You need to be powerful. You need to be energetic and be running up and down all game. And that's the thing. When you look at Leicester and you look at Kante, he's absolutely a quality defensive midfielder, and the energy he's got is running up and down that pitch, breaking them balls up, getting them tackles in, and just a simple little passes just out, just to take the next attack forward. Again, I feel that's what you're missing a little bit of that as well.
Exactly. I mean, we could have gone for one. You just named Kante. We could have gone for Wanyama to help Coquelin in midfield, but again, nah, it's all right. We've got Arteta, we've got Flannery. We don't need to spend the money, and getting him on, because Arteta can come in when Flannery gets injured, or, vice versa. And that, Colin will tell you, we always settle for second best, and there's, he always comes out with bullshit. How many you've probably heard him on Match of the Day yourself. When people will ask him, are you going to be signing in January or in the summer? And he'll always come out with the same old shit of, oh well, we've got such and such coming back soon from injuries. And fuck off, bollocks, right? Anyone will tell you it takes about a month to get back into full fitness, as you said with Sanchez, right? So why not sign somebody in January that is going to help us progress in a title challenge? Because we was in a title challenge in just after Christmas, but no, we didn't sign anybody. Same old story, being good. Now, as Colin says, Van der Sar's 11 points behind Leicester, which is a fucking joke. No disrespect to them, but it's a fucking joke.
The sad thing is, anyone could have told you that this was going to happen, because we always drop around February, March, even November at times. So you can almost predict it's going to happen. In fact, I'm pretty sure the bookies have, an option on that as well. So it's that easy to predict. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. But the thing is, right, it's not difficult to stop that happening. All you got to do is sign players where you're weak. And it's quite clear where we are weak. We're weak at the back because while Gabriel, Koscielny and Chambers are good centre-halves, Mertesacker is absolutely dog shite. I'm sorry, but he is. Right backs were Bellerin's good, but I don't trust the Bushy. That's another thing. He loans out to Bushy and leaves us exposed at right back, and Chambers, who's a centre half, having to play right back.
You're right. It's ridiculous, and again, the amount of tweets that we read on a daily basis with the AKBs, it's absolutely ridiculous. Now, you see, I never tweet anyone personally. I'd never say it to Dan or you. Say if you as an AKB. I would never say, oh, you are a deluded fuck and this, that, the other. You think this and you think that. No. You're entitled to your opinion, but some of the tweets that I actually get is absolutely ridiculous. Because I want Wenger out and I want change for my club. Oh, go get cancer. Go fuck yourself. You don't know football. You're a deluded prick and blah 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 blah. What's all that about? And the next question I wanted to ask is, and both of you can answer this. How do you make a stand or a protest in the right way, supposedly? Because Dan, I don't know if you're aware, there was a banner after the whole game that said, "Arsene, thanks for the memories, but it's time to say goodbye." And we know the guy that done that banner, by the way. The amount of death threats and tweets that he's been getting, and they've been getting really personal to him, and you think, well, what for? He's expressing his opinion, he's showing his hurt, and to be fair, fans that spend their hard-earned fucking money, home and away, I think they've got a little bit of a right to, express their opinions and and to feel hurt and want change. So how are you supposedly supposed to get your message across the right way? If someone can explain that to me.
The sad thing is, right, let's just call them what they are, all right? Those AKBs, okay? I got a tweet from them not even that long ago. I think it was yesterday. Jared, you'll know what the tweet was because he involved you as well. But I simply said that Cavani, Lukaku, Aubameyang and Lacazette are better than Giroud, which they are. Anyone with a brain will tell you that. But he has the balls to come out and say that Lacazette ain't better than Giroud. Okay, you mind telling me how you left out Aubameyang, Lukaku and Cavani then? Come on. I mean, some of them are just absolutely deluded. And you know what? You're right. They do make it personal because half the arguments they give aren't even football related. That's how sad they are. They don't even have profile pictures, most of them. They're just, default egg pictures that you get when you set a Twitter profile up. I mean, me personally, I just call them the eggheads because to me that's what they are. But the problem is, those fans are part of the problem as well. Not just Wenger, not just the board, but they're living off sentiment alone. And people might not like this, but football is a results game. No matter what club you support, football is a results game. And if a manager is not working, then, you got to change it. Because, in fact, take Newcastle this week. Steve McLaren obviously wasn't working, right? Because they're down in the bottom three, right? And they're fighting relegation. They sack him, and they bring in Rafa Benitez. That'll work for them long term, and I guarantee you he'll keep them up. And you can quote me on that, right? Because see, when it does happen, right, you can actually tweet me and say, yeah, you were right. But the point stands, no matter what club you support, if a manager ain't working, then what's the point of even keeping him on?
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
it's quite clear that Wenger has lost the players. Anyone with a brain will tell you. And I'm sorry, but anyone who thinks that that secret team meeting bollocks was actually serious when it involved Theo Walcott and Mikel Arteta is deluded as well. Because Arteta can't lead a Sunday league side, never mind Arsenal Football Club. Theo Walcott is not someone who's going to shout and scream. If there's someone that's going to do that in this side, it's Petr Cech or Coquelin. Those are the only two that will.
At the end of the day, at the start of the season, the board would have set Arsene Wenger some goals of what they wanted him to achieve this year, whether that be winning the league or coming second or whatever, getting to the semi-finals of the Champions League, winning the FA Cup. And he's done none of that. And like you said, any other club, they'd sack the manager like the Villa. The Villa's objective was to stay up. The manager didn't look like he was going to do that, so they sacked him and got somebody else in. Yeah, okay, it hasn't worked because that manager hasn't managed to keep him up either. But it's the same for Arsenal. He would have had objectives at the start of the year. We need you to achieve this. We need you to achieve that. And it hasn't happened, has it? So, in my opinion, you haven't achieved what you've been set out to do, what you've been promised saying that you're going to do. It's time for a change. Thank you for the memories. Thank you for what you've done with the club. You know, put him upstairs in the boardroom, whatever. But it's time for a change, in my opinion.
So you say that he would have had targets in that.
I know what you're going to say, mate. I know what you're going to say. Wenger sets his own targets. That's how that club works.
Not just that, but Kroenke does not give a fuck about this club, mate.
Yeah, he doesn't. Absolutely doesn't. I've said it many times. You know what, right? Oh, God's sake, man. The thing is, like Dan said, right? What would happen in any other situation? The board would set you targets, and if you don't meet those targets, you get sacked. If you're new to a club, fair enough. Or you're brought in, midway, fine. You'd be given time in that. But the problem is, Wenger doesn't have the excuse of, give me time, because he's been there for 20 years nearly. So the time excuse is not valid with him. However, for me, I think his job is untenable, at least amongst the fans anyway, because there's so many people now who are against Arsene Wenger and the way the club is run. It's not just me, it's not just DT and some other fans as well. It's pretty much the whole fan base, aside from a select few. And even Wenger's biggest supporters are now against him as well. Oh, God's sake. Henri's criticised him now. Lee Dixon. Paul Merson's criticised him. Ian Wright's criticised him, despite what he tells people, because if you look back through the Match of the Day archives, you'll know that he criticised Wenger publicly on TV. And, he criticised the fan for doing the exact same thing, basically, which is a bit hypocritical. I just think that we need a change big time, not just in manager, but in board as well. And certain players need to be shipped out as well.
Speaking of change, but I think one word to this bullshit. But there's something in the Daily Mail today that Arsene Wenger feels he may quit if the protests keep going on and this, that, the other. Damn bullshit for me. He ain't going nowhere.
He'll be pushed, won't he? He won't walk away of his own accord, in my opinion. He'll wait to be sacked or given some other role. He won't walk away. He's been there for too long for that now. He'll wait to get sacked, in my opinion.
See, this is going to sound like a stupid question, right? Why would Arsene want to be such a failure? Why would he want to keep making the same mistake year in, year out, and then people aren't even talking about the Invincibles or tear or any of that anymore. People are just looking at from 2007 from now that how we've been the nearly men, the bottlers, this, that, the other. Why would Wenger want to ruin his own legacy? That is my question. Why would he do that?
You say that, right, but Patrick Vieira has come out and said that he's a man manager. So that kind of points the question, was he solely responsible for the Invincibles? Because if Vieira's coming out and saying that makes me question that thought. And Vieira was part of that. So, I don't know. For me, it's like your job becomes untenable when two things happen. The first thing, if you've lost the fans, which he has, and you've lost the dressing room. Both have happened. So for me, his job is untenable. I don't understand where this has, come from. He's been in the game long enough. 20 years is a long time. Granted, he's passed it a little bit, but you could sort of compare it to Alex Ferguson in a way, because he bought Robin van Persie from us. Granted, that was Wenger's stupid decision, but Ferguson didn't normally do that. And then, not long after that, he retires, and then Man United are left in the state that they are. I don't think we're going to be left in that state once Wenger goes, if I'm honest, because we're strong financially. We've got stability at the club, something that Man United didn't have. I mean, they had, because really the Glazers have been bleeding them dry. So we've just got a better squad, I think, because Man United's squad when Fergie left was utter shite. But we've got 3 world-class players in the team. We've got a good British core. I mean, I say good, but really, how good are they? But there's quality there. There are managers that can get more out of this team. I mean, right now, if you're asking me off the top of my head, who's available? Diego Simeone at the end of the season. Who could possibly be available after the Euros? Joachim Low. But that's a shot in the dark. Ronald Koeman, possibly. He could be bought out of a Southampton contract. I feel he'd be a good shout. De Boer and Bergkamp, maybe. Because, Ajax have an affiliation with Arsenal, so it's not too far-fetched to think that. But we've missed out on so many good managers this season, it's unreal. We've missed out on Klopp, who would be who fit Arsenal perfectly. He has a youth policy. He plays attractive football, that high pressing game. So that would suit us. Pep Guardiola would have suited us brilliantly, but we didn't even make a move for him. And now he's off to Man City. And when you think about it, they're probably going to win the Champions League within 3 years. I mean, it'd be stupid to think anything less. Conte has gone off to Chelsea. For me, Conte would be a very good manager, because Italy aren't the best of sides if you look at it. I mean, work rate, yes, they're good, but in terms of quality of player, they're not, because they're not as good as some other national sides. But Conte gets the best out of that side. So I don't know. I don't really know too much about Conte, to be fair, but I have a feeling he would fit us as well. I just don't understand some of the decisions that the board make as well. I mean, they're more interested about making all that money there than they are about, footballing decisions. It's ridiculous, mate.
I want to let's go to Dan. He's probably falling asleep. Keeping on Wenger, right? Oh, this kills me to say this. Norwich went to Old Trafford and they beat a stronger Man U side. West Ham this Sunday just gone, got I say a point, but they drew at Old Trafford to a better Man United side. Arsenal, who are supposedly in a title race, lost to a bunch of fucking youths of Manchester United. So again, like I asked Colin, what gives Arsene Wenger the right to think that he can still carry on and that he's still got it? After after that would have been the nail on the coffin for me.
Yeah, I agree. It seems to me that he possibly thinks something like Champions League qualification is an acceptable sort of position to be in each year. That's all he seems to go on about. And like you said, if the club want to make money, they're happy to see that their team qualifies for the Champions League. And obviously they're getting all the TV money from that. It seems to me that Champions League qualification is what he sort of strives for. Yes, he talks about trying to win the title and this and that, but it seems to me that I think the expectation for him is just to get into the Champions League each year, and he accepts that as sort of, if I do anything better than that, then great. If I don't, then fine. Champions League, we've still made the club some money and this and that. That's what it seems like to me. But again, I'm outside looking in, so it's harder for me. But that's what it feels like, that the Champions League is just, if we can get further, we can get further. But all I do is qualify for the group stages. That makes the club 50 million or whatever, and that's acceptable for another year. I don't know.
But this is the thing, though. Whenever you question him, whenever the media questions him or a fan questions him, you just get asked, "How many games have you managed at a highest level?" No, I haven't, mate. No, I haven't managed to get at the highest level. But I'm not bloody stupid. I can see where we need strengthening in the right fucking areas. I just think he just tries to get away from the questions being aimed at him.
Yeah, he just deflects the questions, doesn't he, with another question. He's just asking, a question's just being, another question's being asked to try and just deflect off him. That's all he's trying to do. Trying to deflect the pressure.
It's ridiculous, you know what I mean? And it's not, like I said, it's not fair on the fans. Obviously, I can't get down, and obviously Colin can't get down, but I know people that spend, let's say, about maybe $3,500 a year to go to Arsenal home and away, and people are going to Barcelona tomorrow knowing that we're going to get fuck all out of it, by the way, because anyone that thinks that we're going to score 2 goals or 3 goals, you go and shoot yourself, seriously, because you are deluded. But $3,500 some people spend, and you think, for what? Yeah, they love the football club, but they're hurting because we're getting nothing at the end of it. And I, for one, Colin for 2, are sick and tired of being fucking laughing stock. I'm sick and tired of it.
I've had enough of it since the end of the summer window. Because for me, there were plenty of players available. Defensive midfielders, you could have had your pick. I've said many times I would have gone for Schneiderlin. I feel he would have fit us perfectly. Vidal, that's the only one that you could have said in a sense that, was going to be a hard task to obtain because he went to Bayern Munich, so they're an attractive proposition. But strikers, not having it. Same thing every year with him. All right, same thing every year. Last year, he neglected the defence, and that cost us the league. This year, he's done the exact same thing with the midfield. Does he not learn his lesson?
No.
I mean, granted, Coquelin is good, and he puts a shift in, but Coquelin by himself, that's not going to win you a league title. Because anyone with a brain will tell you that you need at least 2 or 3 defensive midfielders in a squad to win a title. Chelsea have, last season they had Matic, Ramirez and Mikel. That's 3. Leicester are, they're sort of lucky in a way because Kante really is the only out-and-out defensive midfielder, even though they have Danny Drinkwater as well. But then again, that's 2 midfielders who can play that defensive role. And their wingers get back and help out. I just don't get it. Man City, they've got Yaya Toure, who can play all roles in midfield. You've got Fernandinho, Fernando, Delph. That's four. Four midfielders who can play that defensive midfield role. Honestly, it's a joke. We've got Coquelin, who is the only one I would trust to play that defensive midfield role. Jack Wilshere, I suppose you could say, play that role, but he's injured the majority of the time, and you can't rely on him. Ramsey is not a defensive midfielder by any stretch of the imagination. Flamini may be a defensive midfielder, but his legs have gone, so I don't really count that. Arteta, not a defensive midfielder, number 10. Oh, God's sake, man. It's a fucking joke, mate. Fucking joke.
You know what I'm going to say now. How many times do we read on a daily basis from AKBs? And this, I swear to God, this really gets me because I always hear, be careful what you wish for. Oh, fuck off, be careful what you wish for. That is trying to indicate that we are being successful at the moment and things are going to go all fucking pear-shaped and all that. Are you telling me, right, when you say be careful what you wish for, that, we might not finish in the top 4 next year if Wenger goes, sorry, but oh well. Because what's the point of being in the fucking top 4 anyway? All we do is come second in the group and then just end up getting battered by Bayern Munich or Barcelona anyway. So, be careful what you wish for. Bollocks, mate. Absolute bollocks.
Yeah. The best example.
The club's got the money.
Yep, we do, and that's the thing. The best example of that, right, is Liverpool when Brendan Rodgers came in. They finished 7th in his first season, but the season after that they finished 2nd. They have mounted more of a title challenge than us. Over.
And because of the world-class squad.
Actually, they've done that twice. They did it under Rafa Benitez, and they've done it under Brendan Rodgers. Yeah. Oh, God.
The thing is, the club could afford to stay out of the Champions League for 1 season or 2 seasons. The club has got the money where it could decide to take a chance on somebody, get rid of Wenger, get another manager in, and just say, look, we're going to give you a year, 18 months to rebuild. They could, 1 year they could finish 5th or 6th, and they could afford to. It's not like they're going to go bust or anything by coming out of the Champions League for 1 year. I know they've been in it for every single year for the last 16, 17 years or whatever, but they could take a chance and they could afford just to step out of it for 1 year and still be okay financially and still attract the big players. Just for 1 year, I think they would be okay. But again, it's whether they're willing to take that chance, isn't it?
Yeah, and again, this comes from AKBs and the way they defend him all the time, like saying, going back to strikers and midfields and that, and they say things like, how can, it's not Wenger's fault if players don't want to come, and it's not Wenger's fault if players get injured, blah. But seriously, stop with the fucking licking his balls, man. Just admit that the guy is a failure in the last 10 fucking years. Jesus.
Yeah. For me, actually, Wenger is accountable for leaving Highbury as well. That was dumb. We shouldn't have done that. I mean, I don't know if either you guys have been to the Emirates. I mean, I've not either, but even you can see it on the TV. It's a soulless bowl.
Yeah,
no atmosphere whatsoever. Doesn't have a fear factor. That's what Highbury had. A fear factor. It wasn't just the squad that we put the boot in, but when you went to Highbury, the opposition were like, shit, how are we going to get something out of this game? So the Emirates hasn't got that. The fans certainly don't provide it, and the players don't either. And no one's scared of Arsene Wenger anymore.
No.
Because he's been very lucky in a lot of respects, where he's had to compete with Man City and Chelsea, who who have like oil money and are rich as shit. But that isn't valid anymore because it's a known fact that Arsenal Football Club has more money than Leicester fucking City and Tottenham. It is a known fact. And Tottenham, right, they could very well finish above us because Pochettino is working wonders with them. When he came into that team, that Tottenham team was utter garbage when Pochettino came in. Now, he's reduced the age of it. He's got players who will work hard and genuinely care. We have a bunch of players who have rotten attitudes. And really, Tottenham have sort of switched places with us. Not in the terms of, how many trophies we've won, but in terms of their work rate as a team. When you look at Tottenham and when you look at Arsenal, who looks like more of a team between the two of them? Tottenham or Arsenal? It's quite easy that.
Tottenham.
Exactly. Tottenham, they're going to be moving to a new stadium, I'm sure. Pochettino is going to have them set up right when they move in there. And when the next manager comes in, Tottenham will be set up perfectly. But even then, it's like, how long are we going to put up with this? How long? I can't take it anymore. I want the man gone. I want Kroenke gone as well. I've already said enough about Casillas and Keswick, but fucking hell. But to spend 501 million on a ranch and only spend like 15 million in 2 windows for this entire season is a fucking joke.
Oh yeah, Dan didn't know about that, by the way, the 500 rent.
I've heard about it, yeah.
Does that not prove that he just doesn't give a fuck or have any respect for this football club? Stupid, our supposedly owner of the football club that wants to help us progress.
Doesn't seem like it, does it?
No, and I mean you've got the same problem at Villa, mate. You've got American owner at yours that don't give a fuck about the club.
You got an owner who wants to sell the club, doesn't he? He just wants to sell the club, last interest or whatever. Just wants to sell the club, but was asking too much of a bigger price for it, and is now willing to drop the price. Obviously, they're all but relegated now, and now wants to drop the price, but it's a bit too little, too late. Really, should have sold it last year when they still had a chance of staying up this year, but too late now. Now he's going to end up losing money, isn't he? But I don't know. Right then.
Yeah. You know what? I actually feel sorry for Villa because, they have got a great history to their club. They really do. And for me, what hurt them was losing Benteke and Delph.
Oh, yeah.
That's what hurt them because the owner at Aston Villa, I often think to myself, Aston Villa have a great history, as I've said before, but it's quite obvious they need reinforcements in that team, and they're taking gambles really in the transfer market. Rudi Gestede, he came from the Championship. Granted, he started well, but what has he really done since? Yeah. I mean, I can't really think of anything he's done.
No.
The only promising player that I would argue that you've got is Adama Traore. But again, you're asking a lot from a 19-year-old kid.
Yeah, of course you are. Of course you are asking somebody like that to try and pull them out. They've never recovered from Martin O'Neill. Lerner pulled the plug on the money with Martin O'Neill. He walked away, and they've never ever recovered since then. They've had manager after manager, and it's just been relegation battle after relegation battle. And they got lucky with Benteke. They picked him up. They got a little gem there for a couple of million quid, and he scored a lot of goals for them. Same with Delph. He was injured a lot of the time, and he come good the last couple of years. But we've sold them for 40 million, and we haven't replaced the team. We've just bought people that are just no good for the league, are just struggling to adapt to the league. It's not it's not their fault. You
No.
can't really blame them. They're coming in from top clubs in France, winning the league every year, and they're coming down to Villa, and it's like a relegation battle. And some of these players just don't know how to do it, and don't know how to be in a relegation battle. It's hard, and you gotta battle hard, and it's just really hard, and they can't do it, and it's not their fault. I don't blame them, but they're just struggling, aren't they? Well, they're down now anyway, aren't they? So.
Yeah. I actually think that the defence is part of the problem as well, because, I mean, you signed Julian Lescott from West Brom, I think it was, and he was past it when he played for City, so I don't understand how that's going to help you. Alan Hutton, I'm sorry, but he is horrible. Honestly, I've seen him play at Hampden, and he's absolute wank. Honestly, can't he clear a ball to save his life? And I don't really understand the buys that you're making. Yeah. I mean, Carlos Sanchez, alright, he's a good defensive midfielder, but you need more than that.
Of course you do. Of course you do.
Carlos Gil, I question why he would leave Valencia for Aston Villa, because Valencia at that point were going for a Champions League charge at that point when he left. So why would he move from that to a relegation fight? Don't understand that whatsoever. And that's not a criticism of Villa. That's just a fact. I mean, for me, when you had Paul Lambert, at least you had that. At least you had that sort of stability, because you knew what you were getting with Paul Lambert. But with Remy Gard, he's not managed a Premier League club before. He's out of his depth, in my opinion. And that doesn't help him.
No, of course it doesn't.
So really, Villa have done no favours to Remy Gard whatsoever.
No.
If I was him, I'd walk.
Yeah, I'm surprised he hasn't walked, to be honest.
Tim Sherwood, he's too erratic. You can't have a manager like that when you're fighting relegation. I mean, for me, you're down as is, but you won't come straight back up.
No.
You definitely won't. That team, if you're lucky, you'll escape relegation from the Championship. If you're lucky. I actually think you'll be mid-table League One in a few seasons.
Probably.
The way you are. I just don't see it happening, to be honest with you. It's actually interesting because Villa, in terms of owners, are in the same position that Arsenal are in terms of the fact that the owners really don't give a shit about the club. I mean, I suppose it's like that with a lot of owners, but honestly, it's like, why would you gamble in the transfer market when you can go out there and get sure things?
I know.
Because there are sure things out there. In fact, Aston Villa probably could have benefited from getting Charlie Austin.
Yeah, definitely.
Guaranteed Premier League goal scorer, would definitely keep you up. Granted, the defence would still be as is, but you don't. Goals keep you up.
Of course they do.
Whether people argue with that or not, that is a fact.
Of course it is.
I just think, I don't know. It's like, I don't know. It's an odd one, really.
Yeah, but, it's just, like I said, they're down now. It's finished now. So.
Yeah, down.
Right then, I'm going to wrap it up now.
Wrap this up now. Just before we wrap this up, it's probably the same as really because it ain't going to happen. But Colin, suitable manager to replace Arsene Wenger if it was you?
There are so many things I'd say to him. Okay. I'll make this short and sweet, yeah? If Wenger's got any pride, he'll walk away. If he's got any pride whatsoever, he will walk. But he sold his soul to the devil in 2006 by taking Kroenke's proposition. So for that, Wenger, you have lost my respect. You're getting no sympathy from me. I don't care what happens between now and the end of the season. You don't deserve silverware this year. So, bye-bye. Thanks for the memories. See you later.
Fair enough. Dan, what was your last words with Wenger, and who would you bring in?
Yeah, like I said, I just think he's got to have some pride. He's got to walk away. Granted, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes as much as what you guys do as I support Arsenal, but I think it's time for him to walk away. And I'd like you, man, from Atletico Madrid, Diego Simeone. I think he'd be a good fit from what's available. Again, there's not many managers available, like Colin said earlier. You've missed the boat really on a lot of managers, but he'd be one that you'd still want to look at definitely. Or Koeman, he's done a good job at Southampton. So either one of those two, I think, would be a good fit for now.
Yeah, I couldn't disagree with that. And what I've got to say to Arsene Wenger is, I respected you, still kind of respect you in a way for what you did too with the Invincibles and what you've done for Arsenal. But for your last 10 years, you've ruined it, you have fucked me off, and now it is fucking time to go and just fucking leave. And stop ruining your legacy, mate. Stop ruining it. Anyway, my thanks to Colin from Much Arsenal for coming on at late short notice.
No worries, mate. No worries at all.
And also my thanks to regular Dan. I'm sure he'll come back on again.
Yeah, definitely. Anytime I'll be glad to be back. Talk about Premiership football.
Right, so we're going to end this here, and I will see you guys for Premier prediction video on Friday. Until then, see you later.
Cheers.
Adios.